The key takeaways from this panel are the following. One, that 5G is really a revolutionary service. It is not just a continuation of 4G, and that this requires a different approach from regulators and policymakers to enable it. And the central piece of that new approach is the allocation of spectrum, number one. The second one is that there's got to be pricing flexibility. And number three, there's got to be a relaxation of the rules that today constrain the virtualization, the cloudification of services, the ability of operators to have a central factory in one country, but to offer services in many others. That's one takeaway, what the policymakers can and should do. The second takeaway is that this is really a very promising world that we're just beginning to enter into. And the promise is the promise of technology providing better services, providing services that are central to improving various services from education to healthcare and transportation becoming more efficient and so on. And that these services are enabled because of technology. And that's a very promising and optimistic view of the world. We're only beginning to realize how promising this is. And to achieve this promise, I think it's important for regulators to allow the technology to develop and to take a step back and allow innovation to take its course. And once innovation has really taken root, and then policymakers will then have to take a step back and then decide what is it that they really need to regulate, if they need to regulate anything. Then that becomes clear at that time. If they engage and regulate early, there's a risk that innovation will be stifled. And I think the second key takeaway, other than regulation being appropriately designed for the 5G era, is to enable the whole ecosystem of 5G to develop, and that requires a certain approach that is kind of the whole of government approach. It's not just the telecom regulators and the ICT ministers who have a role to play. It's a whole of government approach so that society can reap the benefits.